And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the two most radical, extreme, well, frankly, dangerous far-left politicians ever nominated by a major party are hiding in plain sight in front of friendly crowds of supporters, and they're cheering. Crowds aren't as big as they're letting you think. Anyway, you got Harris and Walz reading their speeches from scripts likely that other people wrote. They take zero questions. There are no interviews, no press conferences, no town halls, no impromptu gaggles, no television hits, no appearances, not even on friendly venues like MSDNC, which is pretty much most of the media. Since her coronation, Kamala has only gone off script one time for a 30-second word salad about the return of American hostages. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning. That's it. Now, neither Kamala nor Tim have been asked about their radical positions, them in their own words, the alleged subsequent flipping and flopping, but we don't even know for sure if they flipped and flopped because we only heard that from their campaign, and that was only after Harris was the presumptive Democratic nominee. That's called an election year conversion by every definition. Now, neither candidate has been asked about their radical past, radical statements, or their votes, or their radical beliefs or policy positions. These positions are not even on Kamala's website, which is pretty unprecedented. Neither candidate has been asked to explain their track record. They've not been asked to defend radical statements they've made. The state-run media mob, they don't seem to mind. In fact, they actually seem to prefer it all this way. After all, the media created their own adoring fantasy about the Democratic ticket, and they would hate for Kamala or Tim to get in the way of all that. Remember in 2007 and 8, I said journalism in America is dead and buried. I had no idea how right I was. Take a look.
This is America's dad, America's football coach, America's...
She called him Coach Walz.
Yeah, Coach, America's teacher.
Yeah.
And the teacher that's cool enough without trying to be cool.
She was John Wayne last night. She was a leader, and she was clear that she was the boss.
Walz appears to fit the all-American definition of a man from middle America.
He really has that perfect backstory. He also has those rural roots.
I sort of thought in my head, you know, this guy, he really is kind of a rural American success story.
A lot of people have noticed this sort of down-to-earth, likable quality to him. A number of people that I have spoken to throughout this process, they have said that he is just a blast, that he is fun to be with.
This ticket, the vice president and the coach, for those considering voting for the ticket, giving them the power to think that they're participating in something that will put a smile on your face.
Look, it's a nonstop love fest for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the biggest in-kind donation that any campaign would ever hope for. And to think just a few months ago, Kamala was considered a political pariah with the lowest approval numbers ever for a vice president in American history. All of a sudden, she is now the second coming of Jesus. I'm sure tomorrow the media is going to be dutifully reporting she could walk on water, cure cancer, perform miracles. What changed? Did the border crisis get solved? I didn't see it. Did the economy get better? I didn't notice. Did inflation go away? Is there peace in the Middle East? The Ukraine and Russia, did that stop? Did anything get better? No, of course not. And are any of you watching? Here's the question that you ought to be asking, the media ought to be asking, but they won't. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? How's that Harris-Biden economy? How's that working out for you? And what about your energy prices and electricity prices? How's that working out? How about safety and security in your small town or big city, wherever you happen to live? Is the world overall a safer place? War in Europe, war in the Middle East, and we're on pins and needles if Iran is about to bomb Israel. Now, Kamala and Tim are getting the white glove treatment, predictably, from the state-run media mob, simply because they are at the top of the Democratic ticket and they don't have the last name Trump. So are there any actual journalists left, NBC, ABC, CBS? Is there any honest reporters at the AP or Reuters or PBS or NPR even, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Maggie Haberman? Donald Trump opened a Diet Coke. Details, in tomorrow's paper. What about Fake Jake or Dana Bash or Anderson Cooper or Chucky Todd? Anyone actually want to vet Kamala and Tim Walz? Is anyone demanding interviews? Do you think that maybe the American people need to hear their radical positions in their own words? Now, if you want to be a full-time cheerleader for the Democratic Party, I am 1,000% fine with that. I believe in freedom. I'm a freedom person, unlike they say they are, but they're not. But don't call yourself a journalist like most of these people do. Stop lying. Stop pretending to be nonpartisan. You're not. Be honest about who you are. All the people, all these, quote, news organizations, they are really radical supporting left-wing talk show hosts with a very clear agenda. I'm all right with that. I'm a member of the press. I have the biggest talk radio show right now in the country and one of the top cable news shows in the country. I have thousands of hours of straight news that I can produce on radio and TV and prove it to you. I do investigative reporting. Like right now, we're vetting Kamala and Tim, which the media refuses to do. I give opinion. I am an outspoken conservative commentator. I am clear. I am voting for Donald Trump, and I'm supporting his candidacy. I don't lie. I don't hide it. I'm straight with my audience. We also do culture and sports. What we do in our role in the press is I'm like the entire newspaper, start to finish, cover to cover. They claim to only do journalism. They are leftist talk show hosts like me, except they are radical left and they lie about who they are. But, of course, lying and trickery, isn't that part of the game? They hide behind the mantle of journalism while doting on the Democrats, ripping Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, every single chance they get. Take a look.
Trump ain't ready for this. He's not. This is so beyond his league. He's not going to be on a stage where he gets to walk up behind Kamala Harris and not have her turn around and damn near smack the hell out of him.
You can't be the strong man who's afraid to debate a woman. Trump would fall flat on his face. He just does not have the debate chops that are necessary to withstand all of the blows he would take from Kamala Harris.
He is a wuss. He is scared of her. She will run circles around him, and he knows that. He knows it. She will destroy him.
Frankly, J.D. Vance, just dumb Vance, is pretty weird.
I don't think Kamala Harris is going to pick anyone as weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
Claire, what do you make of the choice of J.D. Vance?
Well, it does not signal that Trump is trying to soften any edges. And the only person who was more excited than J.D. Vance this afternoon was Vladimir Putin.
And tonight, even with a hostile press, both Donald Trump and J.D. Vance routinely, they speak with reporters. Just today, J.D. Vance walked across the tarmac after landing right near Air Force Two, and he spoke with Kamala's very, very lonely press corps, who have been totally ignored and shut out for weeks. Take a look.
I figured I'd come by and, one, just get a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind, because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
What would you like to hear from her?
I'd love her to answer the questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed.
Now, the almost dead, silent reporters, they must have been in shock. They couldn't believe that a vice presidential candidate was actually talking to them. Pretty shocking day for them. It's really just pathetic, though. They're doing this. They are letting Democrats get away with it all, just like Joe hiding in the basement during his 2020 run. History is now repeating itself. Journalism is dead in America. We have what is a dangerous information crisis in the country. Add to this big tech, their influence, their censorship, supported by the deep state, warning them they may be victims of a disinformation campaign about Joe and Hunter, knowing that Rudy Giuliani's attorney had a copy of the laptop that would likely be leaked, and then it's leaked, and they didn't verify the authenticity of it, which they had done in March of 2020. Now, there is, however, an occasional moment of honesty on fake news CNN. Got to give credit where credit's due. Van Jones last night talked about the anti-Semitism, that cancer in his party. He addressed it straight on. Good for him. He also today talked about Kamala's cowardly campaign. Watch.
She is being criticized for not sitting down for an interview, for not doing a press conference. When should that come? If you are looking at this particular coupling, when should that come?
As soon as possible. Look, I think they've played it smart. Hard for people to remember. She's been running for president for 2 weeks, literally for 2 weeks. And so she had to get a lot done in those 2 weeks. She had to get the base of her party. She had to get the actual nomination. She had to pick a VP. So I'm not mad that she's not doing 15 interviews a day, but it can't last. It's very important. And we can't, make favorites. Anybody running for the top office needs to be as available as possible.
It's actually 2.5 weeks, and we're 40 days outside of early voting beginning. So how long will Kamala be able to hide in the basement? J.D. Vance has been asked for days and days and days on end about a sarcastic comment about cat ladies. How many more times is he going to have to answer that stupid question? And meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of Americans are dead because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's border crisis. And nobody in the media, you don't have any real questions for the border czar, and she is the border czar. The stock market has been plummeting for the last 5 days. A fortune is being lost. Inflation is still on the rise. Gas and energy prices are through the roof. Americans and innocent people are dying in new wars overseas. They have surrendered against radical Islamic terrorism. And the vice president, Democratic presidential nominee, just reads short, prepared speeches from a teleprompter. In 2020, entire city blocks were burned to the ground in Minnesota, while that state's governor, now VP candidate for the Democrats, Tim Walz, did nothing. When will he be asked about it? During 5 days of nonstop lawlessness and looting and murder and arson, Governor Walz refused to send in the National Guard, despite repeated requests from liberal local officials like the Minneapolis mayor. Walz's wife, the First Lady of Minnesota, was basking in the violence, opened all the windows to their home so she could smell burning tires and rejoice in the resistance. And get this, quote, according to the Senate committee report, around the same time the National Guard was finally being mobilized and starting to arrive in Minneapolis, well, according to this report, the governor's daughter was given access to confidential information that she then disseminated to the, quote, general public and rioters. You might want to check that out. Anyway, meanwhile, the governor was actually lecturing law-abiding Americans in Minnesota during the riots, telling them they deserved that their businesses were being looted, burned to the ground because of equity and inclusion. Look.
We saw large, peaceful protests focusing on the systemic changes that get to the heart of why we're in this situation. And when I say we, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the state of Minnesota, nationally, and as we've seen over the last 24 hours, internationally. A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at.
Radical, extreme, dangerous. Oh, that looks like a city burning. Anyway, that doesn't look like a peaceful protest. Liz Cheney would probably call it, if she saw it, an insurrection. How in God's name can you watch cities burning, your city burning, night after night, and do nothing? There are still burned out buildings in Minnesota. Small businesses ruined forever. Walz was never held accountable. Neither were the violent rioters. They got a get-out-of-jail-free card, thanks to the bail fund promoted by Kamala Harris, who was running for vice president. And few rioters were ever actually prosecuted or sentenced to jail. More recently, from 2021 and 2023, Kamala made multiple donations to a D.C. legal nonprofit that calls for police to be defunded. Advocates for sanctuary city policies. Kamala ever going to be asked about that? We have so many different issues, so many questions. Will her running mate get asked about his efforts to make Minnesota a sanctuary state, including driver's licenses for illegals, health care for illegals, taxpayer-funded college tuition for illegals with your money? Will anyone ask Tim Walz about his creepy mandates to put tampons in boys' public school bathrooms? No wonder people on X are calling him Tampon Tim. What about the bill that he signed protecting gender-altering surgery and puberty blockers for young kids, or his support of late-term abortion up to the moment of birth? That'd be called infanticide. What about his plan to crack down on so-called hate speech? Take a look.
Years ago, it was the little things, telling people to vote the day after the election, and we kind of brushed them off. Now we know it's intimidation at the ballot box. It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hey, Timmy, you might want to check in with Kamala because she once supported paper ballots. Anyway, for a guy who honeymooned in China, was dressed like a Chinese Communist Party worker during a 1995 mugshot for drunk driving, Tim Walz's politics almost perfectly aligned with the CCP, hating free speech, hating individualism, promoting equity around every turn. And so does Kamala Harris. Their campaign slogan might as well be, from each according to their ability and to each based on their needs. Of course, Marxism always leads to the same place: pain, suffering, even death, poverty, and loss of freedom, all in the name of false government security. Coincidentally, that is exactly what we saw in 2020 on the streets of Minneapolis, a city that has never truly recovered. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.